Okay, so as the video title promises, this is going to be a short video, hopefully, on how the circle of fifths works and how soloing works. So, if you will, before we get going, pause the video real quick, grab that thing down below. There's a link, and it'll take you to the image of this, which I'm going to be using over here for reference. So, go ahead and grab that link real quick, and then we'll get started. Okay, so, the circle of fifths. It is, my first initial reaction when I looked at it was, what is this? Then I thought, that looks like a clock. The way it works is it's in fifths. And it goes C, D, E, F, G. That's the fifth position. And directly, we're going to start from the outside, so that big red C right there. We're going to go from there and work our way down to the natural symbol, and then to the A, where it says minor. So let's start where it says major. That C, right? Everyone knows what a C chord is. And I got some weird tones going on here. Okay. Alright. So that's a C chord. Now, what is important about this that we need to know? Well, it's going to help us do... First of all, this isn't soloing. I don't know why I said soloing earlier. This is how to build a song. Entirely how to build a song. Using theory. So, it might sound a bit robotic. You gotta add that emotion and mix it up. So, how does this work? Let's start on that C. To the right, we have G, the fifth position. Now, those sound good together. To the left, we have the fourth position of the scale. Obviously, F comes directly before G, so sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, it's a 1-4-5 progression. That means this is an example in C, so it's not always this, but for this example, C being 1, F being 4, G being 5. Now all those go together, so if you were to just start kind of doing stuff and be like, now notice how ending on that C gives you almost like a feeling of coming back to a nice warm home. Another reason that I chose this image out of the other thousands of images is it's got those little boxes above the letters, and you can see that, I guess you can't see, the image quality is pretty poor, but it's got a little hashtag or a sharp symbol. So that's why the C has what's called a natural in music, is what that is. And it's a little square with two tails on either side, as you can see. If you can't see it that well, you can pull up the natural symbol in Google Images. You can pause the video. But it's because there's no sharps or flats in the key of C. If you'll notice, there says 1 sharp in G. That means there's 1 sharp, and it appears to be on the F. It's an F sharp, so that means if we're going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's right there. That's the G major scale. C, D. No, it starts on G though. So it'd be like G, G, A, B, G, A, B, C, D, C, O, C, D, E, F sharp, G. I don't know the G major scale. I'm figuring this out with you, but that's how we figure that out, because we know it has an F sharp in it. So that means if you watched the last boot camp, you'll know about soloing in the key of C. You can use or anything in the C major scale. So why is that important? Well, knowing which sharps and flats go in which keys is going to be vital. What I did not talk about in the last video that I need to express really quickly is you can't just jump from C to E down to G. Like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't sound good. You got to come back to here and then go down to the F. And then go to the G. Like, if you just jump straight from C to G, like, notice how it sounds better when you go 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, oops, 1, 4, 5. I'm doing power chords. Instead of just going 1, 5, 1, 5. And that's how you build a better progression, because what you can do you could do that, but it's better just to stick with that. And there's other chord progressions. There's like one, I don't even know. I didn't search them up. But I will real quick while we're talking, and I'll continue talking about what I was talking about. Knowing which notes go with those chords is progressions. Okay, so knowing which notes go with those keys is because when you're changing chords like that, you gotta understand that. So now I can play C, F, and G. That means I can play any of the notes that belong in the C family, so C to C, all natural. Then when I'm playing F, I don't remember which F was. That's B flat. So that means with F and G in the mix, because these are all naturals, that's an B flat, and that has the F sharp in it. So that means I can play all the natural notes, the F sharps, and the B flats now. I've opened the fretboard more. Some common chord progressions would be 1, 4, 5, 1, 6, 4, 5, or 2, 5, 1. So I've never tried 2, 5, 1. Those are mainly 7th chords though. Like D major 7, G7, and C major 7. I don't know how to do C major 7, if we're going to be real here. Wait. So I did talk about triads, so actually let's figure out a C major 7th. A C major with an added 7th. So that means if there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in the scale, I'm going to add a B in there. So wait, is that? Okay, so that's actually you take your first finger off, and that'll be the B. There you go. That's how you play C major 7. Because when you put your first finger up here, it's a C, creating that 8th note, which is the octave. So when you take your finger off, it gives you the 7th. Pretty nifty, huh? So that's how you figure those things. That's why triads are so important, because I didn't know how to play that, and I just figured it out based on knowing what that chord is. Like knowing a minor chord is a normal major triad but with a flat third, I can play a G minor. Or a suspended is a flat 5th. 1, 3, flat 5, play G suspended. And that, like I said, it will open up your playing as well, but we're not here for that. We're talking about circle of fifths. And I'm trying to keep this relatively short. But that is why triads are important, and that is why knowing what notes go where are important. Because as well, when you're talking about 1, 4, 5, you have to realize that G has an F sharp in it. So you can't be like, I mean, it's G, I don't know what that is off the top of my head. G, A, B, C, D. G, C, and D. No, G, B, and D. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. That's why, right there. That's why you get versed on your theory. So let's keep going around. I promised you that we would take it from the outside in. So now we've covered what those are. We've covered the positions of them, why that matters, and why they're in fifths. And we've covered that the notations in the boxes outside of them are exactly what they say they are. So I do want to talk about down here at the bottom, before we head inside, you'll notice if you look at the 6 o'clock position and then to the one to the right of it, it says B, C flat. And the same with G flat and F sharp. So let's look at that from a chromatic scale. So we have F, F sharp, G. So where's G flat? Well, actually, if you remember what I said, it was E, E, E flat, D, that's D. So what that does is when you go backwards, it's flat. So F sharp and G flat are the same note, which can get confusing, but the reason that is because when you're going down, everything's flat. It's descending. Most people will, they might say play a B flat. That's not a B flat. That's B flat. That's B flat. And so that's why this is C sharp. C flat and B, excuse me. Because if you remember also in the video, I talked about there being B, C. There's no sharp or flat between B and C and E and F. So, oops, E, F, E, F, E, F, E, F. No sharp or flat there. So C flat is actually a B. So that's that. That's why you'll see the notation change to the little b is a flat symbol. Okay, so now we've done all that, we can move to the inner ring before we hit minor. And that just tells you how many sharps and flats are in it. So, there is more flats in some of these, if you look towards the bottom. So let's start at C and then go to G, D, A, and E. And I am looking at this because I don't have this full thing memorized, and I want to make sure I have it 110% correct, because you guys should be looking at the same image. So, C has the natural symbol, 0 sharps or flats. If we go to the right one, G has 1 sharp, right one, 2 sharps, 3 sharps, 4 sharps, seeing a pattern, 5 sharps. That's great. But it has 7 flats. So these red letters, in case you haven't figured it out yet when I said it earlier, are keys. So you can play in the key of B and have 5 sharps, but when you play in the key of C flat and you are using more notes lower down, you're going to have more notes naturally, and you're going to have flatted notes. And that is also why we use sharps and flats, because it distinguishes between things like that where there is more notes to open up to. And while they are the same notes, and they are next to each other because they would work just the same, they just distinguish differently because it's easier to tell it apart when you're... music theory isn't necessary for writing. Some people will tell you it is, it's not. What it is a way that musicians communicate with each other, and it's essentially a language. So then we have 6 at the bottom. In the 6 o'clock position, we have 6 sharps and 6 flats even. Then we go back, and look at that, it starts to repeat itself. 5 flats, 7 sharps. It just reverses. 4 flats, 3 flats, 2 flats, 1 flat. That's why I was like, it looks like a clock. It's like, I don't know. But, okay, so that's that. That's pretty simple, actually. If you know what a sharp and a flat are, which we covered, that's really self-explanatory and really simple. I don't think I should go into that anymore. On the inside, so that's minor. You know how it says minor. So that doesn't mean that A minor is also all naturals or anything. So that's the 6th position of a scale right there. So C, the relative minor would be A. G, that sounds like a song already. Comment down below if you know what song that is, because I don't know what song it is and it sounds like one I know. D would be B minor. Now these are minor chords. So when you go like 1, 4, 5, minor 6, it can spice up your chord progressions. So going around, we can understand that that's the relative minors, but where does that come into play and why is that important? Well, when you look at stuff like that, it's about the emotion that you're creating in your song. So say I'm playing in the key of C. And I'm playing those two chords. Actually, let's spice it up. Let's play C, F, G, and then A minor. So, in the end on that C chord right there, what we have is the A minor pentatonic scale I'm going to use. And that's going to help us create a sad sounding solo. So listen to this. That's actually major. It's in the minor shape, but like, it's tricking your ear because it's the relative minor. That's pretty much the circle of fifths explained, so that's that. Real quick, we're just going to put the guitar down and have a little chit-chat about why this is important and how you can use it. So, as promised, I would tell you how to write a song. First, we had to get that crap out of the way. Now, we're going to look at this real in depth, and I'm going to tell you exactly how this is going to guide your song. You pick what key you want your song to be in. Say you want it in G. Or actually, let's do it in D. I like D. No, yeah. We're going to do G. We're going to do G. I like G more. So, just because it's simple. So G has C and D is the 1-4-5 chord progression. It has the relative minor of E minor. So what are you going to do with that? That's going to be a rhythm. When you're building the song, if you're building a complex song or you're in a band, you're going to want to tell your rhythm guitarist and bassist to be playing that kind of thing, those kind of notes. So, for example, since we're in G, we have F sharp. D, we have F sharp and C sharp. Yes, C sharp and F sharp. So, what are we going to do with that? That means we have all the natural notes, F sharp and C sharp. So that's 10 notes that can be used all over the fretboard in their octaves and repeated notes. Also use the E minor pentatonic shape, any kind of E minor scales, E minor scale shape, stuff like that for lead. But your bassist and your rhythm guitarist will be playing that progression that you build. And you don't have to do strumming. You can definitely do arpeggiations, like in So Far Away by Avenged Sevenfold. They do it's E minor, do 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 D, A minor, G, using exactly that actually, because we have E minor, relative minor of G, we have D, which also goes with G, then we have G, and then we have A minor, the relative of C, which we're using the same notes as in C. So that's how that progression was built. Or not how it was built, because I have no idea how it was built, but that's how you'd piece it together. That's pretty simple, right? That's your rhythm. That's the notes your bass guy's going to be playing. That's not specifically the same notes as rhythm, unless it's what you want to do, but it's within those bounds. And you can switch keys at any time, but make sure you do it at the appropriate time. For example, or I mean not the appropriate time, but the appropriate way. So like, say you want to switch to the key of A. Wait till you're in the key of, when you're playing in the key of D on your progression, and then switch over to A, because it's the fifth of D. And that will make your life easier because it makes a smooth transition. As for the lead, all those boxes on the outside, those note constraints, stuff like that, it's hard to not be repetitive. I talked about this in the last video. You learn a scale, you learn it forwards and backwards. It comes out and you're playing that way. So how do you fix that? Well, there's a couple fixes to that. Now that we have a lot of theory to go on from this, and this is a lot to handle, I know. And some of you might not be knowing where these notes are on the fretboard. And if you don't know where these notes are on the fretboard, I'm going to refer you back to my scales video, and I talked about the chromatic scale. When you do the chromatic scale, the way that I've set it up, you'll learn the notes on each string, and while that's probably not the best way to do it, that's the way I learned it. A lot of people will learn scales and play scale patterns. That's something people do. I learned the chromatic scale and learned the notes. And then I have a couple guide notes that I use a lot. So that's pretty much it. But, you know, if you're gonna switch keys, that's a good way to get more notes, not repeat yourself, by breaking out of those habits and finding the other notes, by skipping strings, by adding repetitive parts where you're going up the scale, like up one of the strings of the scale for like 2 or 3 times and then sliding into the high string or something. Stuff like that. Also use things meant for guitarists. Slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends. It's important. That's pretty much it, guys. That's how you build a song from a music theory standpoint, and how you keep yourself from getting overly repetitive, and how you keep yourself really in the game and doing good work. Well, as always, Instagram is linked below. That's about it. Everybody stay passionate, have a good weekend, and I will see you soon.